Charlie, good morning, man. What are you doing in that seat over there?
Good morning, man. I'm sitting here just waiting to get out for work, but happy
Me,
to kill a little bit of time hanging out with you and whoever's watching this morning instead. It's definitely a better way to start the day. So,
I think this might be the first time that both people on the show both have collars. We both have to run out to the office here. We got a tight 1 hour show today going to happen. Audience, Joe couldn't be here today. He's on vacation. I'm in North Carolina working, and Charlie was cool enough to slide in and pick up the slack for me and Joe. So, Charlie, if people don't know you, tell them, give them a quick introduction. They should know you if they don't.
it's all right if they don't. Man, I feel like I got big shoes to fill this morning too. I thought about hitting everybody with like morning or whatever Joe's been doing. His like rock star thing he kicks off with. Joe, I feel like Joe's become a little bit of a celebrity in the industry all of a sudden.
He's growing into his shoes, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I love it. So yeah, I'm Charlie from Reagan Renee Royal Pythons. Kicked off the business with my family, so Reagan Renee named for my from what I
There
can
it
see.
is, right there. Yeah, straight above you there. There you go.
Boom, like that.
Boom.
Yeah, so kicked this off with my family. So the company name was inspired by my daughter. Was the first one in the house, not necessarily to want a snake, but the first one to see some YouTubers and say cutting eggs and say, oh, I want to breed. We should breed snakes. So that was the whole inspiration that turned into hunt. A significant number of snakes.
Right, lots, yeah. Yeah. And Charlie, you and I have worked together for a while now, and we made friends virtually and remotely, and then we got a chance to hang out last summer. But I've always appreciated your help and your support. You are a sponsor of the show. I'll be transparent about that. But we always kind of clicked on numbers and maybe overthinking numbers. So it's a great theme today to have you on when I was like, because I did this great interview on Tuesday night with a guy named, I don't know if the interview was great, but the guy was great, Chris at Wide River Reptiles. And we got talking a lot about, community, doing things that don't necessarily fit on a spreadsheet. And you and I find comfort in our spreadsheets. And so anyway, it was a good topic. And I was like, oh, this will force me and Charlie to think outside of our boxes a little bit. So did you, the other fully transparent thing, audience, I had the show prepped, written, went to send it to Joe, and I was like, oh yeah, Joe's off this week. It's like, oh no, who am I going to get? So Charlie came in on short notice, but did you have a one thing this week, or what's been exciting this week? Anything cool?
Yeah, I was really like, because I don't get to do a one thing every week, so I was like, I got 6 one things, but let me think. I have. Can I steal 2 since I don't get to do it weekly?
Do it, man. Yeah, you get for filling in. You get the bonus. It's like time and a half. You get a little bonus. You know what I'm saying?
So my first one thing that I'm excited about is actually the first, and it took probably longer than it should. She had a weird 1,000-gram wall that she hit, but my first female I ever bought a little over 4 years ago now, I think. Her first clutch just hatched this week.
Oh, so now cool, man.
Well into double-digit clutches over the last couple of years, but that was just cool for me to see. The first girl we bought actually like almost as a pet, and she has a recessive, she has pied as well, but to have her first babies hatch out, and there was a surprise in it too, which made it awesome. She's a cinnamon pied, which is why we got her, because she's brown head and all white body pretty much, and it was as a first pet snake, it was like, this is so cool.
That's the coolest thing, right?
She turned out to have at least leopard hiding in there too, and potentially something else. So I've been working back and forth with the breeder a little bit as these babies come out. The patterns are just destroyed. There's ringers and stuff like that. So it's like turned out to be really cool. So that's exciting.
That's nice to find those bonuses. And we sometimes, I forget who it was. Oh, it was with Shane and Jessica. I was talking. I almost wonder if we're at the point where, like, does a normal actually even exist anymore? Like in the trade, is there something in everything? Actually, I would say the odds are more likely than not now, at least from a trade snake. If you're, wild snakes are a little bit different, but so that's cool. Have you had a snake that you've hatched produce a clutch yet?
On the male side, plenty. On the female side, she's due by about the 25th for the first.
Oh, cool.
So it's actually one of the first females that we ever hatched. It's a candy pied female, and she's due, like I said, on the 25th, and that'll be the first time we've had a female come full circle like that. Yeah.
Right. I had one that somebody said something the other night that screwed with my head. We always say reabsorbed. We should just say absorbed. That would mean that they had already absorbed once if we said reabsorbed. And now, so when I say it, it pisses me off. It gets in my head.
Yeah. So for whatever reason, the way my brain works, I'll get hung up on that now. And so I thank you fully for that. I will be cursed with that in my mind constantly now.
So this girl was going, and then she absorbed, and I was like, crap. So it'll probably be one more year before I get one that one of my I hatched it, held it back, grew it up, bred it, and before I get eggs from her. But I want to say that I had one, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. So I think maybe I've got a little more to go. But yeah, my gift to you, reabsorbed is BS. All right, what's the number two thing?
The number two thing is, and we were talking a little bit before the show about travel. So my next travel will be non-business related. It'll be Reagan finished up she tested for her yellow belt last week in Taekwondo. Cool. Which is exciting as a girl dad, that she can punch somebody in the nose if she needs to.
Just right. Nice job. Yeah, exactly.
So, and then this weekend we're traveling deep into Pennsylvania. I won't say exactly where, but for her first tournament, which is just a proud dad moment for me. It's exciting.
That's cool. Has she how I'm sure as you get further up the belts and the ranks that I'm sure the tournaments get serious, there's contact and good, how much into that is there?
Yeah. So where she's at, the yellow belt's the second one they test for. Everybody starts with the white, right? The tournament this weekend will just be going through basically what they call forms. So demonstrations of the moves. It's like choreographed. They do start sparring in class. I think they started this week. So she'll be sparring in class by next week. So she'll actually be hitting and kicking other kids by next week.
Other kids, right. All right, cool. That's kind of what I was thinking. So yeah, so she's doing her form and station and the not the basics, but the base of the other stuff though.
Yeah, they have to do that. That's a part of the belt test too. So they have to go through all the progressions, the forms, and show the different moves and techniques and stuff. So right now it's all about, like we said, form, right, and discipline, which is what I really am liking about it. The deeper they get into it, when they stop and talk about discipline and stuff like that. So it's all about developing the right habits and things right now. And then they add the speed and the contact later, right? So she's getting right to that point now where they're add that. So. It's a good breaking boards and stuff too. It's pretty cool. So
yeah, that's a good lesson for even in my world of kitchens. You learn your cuts, you learn the different measurements and widths and that stuff, and then you get faster, and then you apply it, and then it's just a kind of a pyramid of building of stacking skills and knowledge. So that's a good thing. That's a good skill to learn as a kid.
Yeah, and potentially good way, which completely unintentional to segue into something we're talking about today, right? So you talk about building habits and structure and stuff. Some of those things might be off spreadsheet, non-value activities, right? But they certainly have some type of having trained and disciplined workers or trained and disciplined, you're training yourself even in a certain way in your room might yield benefit, right?
That's right. Yeah, exactly. And those routines and the discipline with it. Charlie, Danny says good morning to you.
I see that. Good morning. Thank you.
He's
always got something.
So has Reagan gone off to any sleepaway camps or anything like that yet? Is that something that she does?
No sleepaway, just day camp stuff. Yeah. No
gotcha.
Sleepaway.
So my son, Charlie, my one thing is that he is off at camp, and Charlie's 12, so he's too cool for anything in the world. And definitely heading into middle school. So we get to send emails to the bunk, and I have no idea how it works, but in my mind, I'm envisioning that, you know, they have to read their letters from home out loud or something. So me being the 44-year-old dad, I have no clue what he's talking about most of the time. So I had my good buddy AI write me an email for Charlie that I thought I would share with everybody this morning, and you guys can let me know how I did. I said, "Hey," with 4 Y's, Charlie. What's popping at camp, my dude? Hope you're out there flexing your riz and showing off that skibbity bop bop dop dop yes yes swagger. Anyway, I just want to drop in and say what's up, because you know that's what cool dads do. How's the camp food? Any Sussa Baka meals yet? Or are you surviving on those Fortnite battle royale skills and cranking 90s on the dinner table? I have no idea. I could be going to jail for what I'm writing to children here. I have no idea. I'm sure you're out there landing those victory royales and the daily camp challenges, just like you do in Tilted Towers. Remember, you got that OP Riz to charm the counselors into giving you extra s'mores. Don't forget to floss, not to dance, unless you're feeling it. Oh, and if you're having trouble with the camp canoeing, just think of it as a Fortnite glider. You got to glide through the water with that pro gamer focus. Just watch out for those IRL chug jugs, aka water bottles, and make sure you stay hydrated, my little pog champ. All right, I'll let you get back to vibing with your squad. Keep repping that big brain energy. See you soon. I'm only a few skibbity bops away. Stay lit, fam. Catch you on the flip side. Peace out. Your dad, the king of cringe. P.S. Don't forget to dab on them haters. 100 _.
That is fantastic. That was, I don't know what half of it meant, but it sounded amazing. I'm gonna be
like I say, I could be there could be law enforcement looking for me for what I'm sending to kids. I have no idea.
Awesome.
But yeah, I have visions of that being read out loud in front of him by his counselor, and
I think he nailed it with the king of cringe part. I have a feeling that he's going to feel that way at the end of it.
I figured I could, you know, come around and at least acknowledge some sins there in the wrap up.
Well, that's what we're here for. If we can't embarrass them, I mean, come on, who can?
And yeah, he had his whole first decade to be coddled by me. The second decade is all just, you know, right. Welcome to the real world, kid. Yeah,
we're building character now. Now it's character building time.
That's right. Yeah, we've made sure that you have the nutrition and your basic needs. Now it's time to toughen you up and tell you how the world works out here. So, Charlie, before we jump into the show, man, it's attaching season. What kind of cool stuff you got going on, man? I see like some pretty cool posts and stuff out there these days from you.
Yeah, I got here in a couple of days, probably around Saturday or Sunday. Next shot at Candy Clowns. The stuff I just hatched is kind of an off-the-wall clutch. It's there's a lilac combo possibility in there. It looks like I hit at least one. So Enchi cinnamon and pied going on. It looks like I hit at least one Enchi cinnamon pied. That looks pretty cool. And then there's a lot of possible hets, which we're going to be using. Oh, he's not a sponsor on this show, but I'll be sending some stuff to Charlie to get tested.
Oh, Charlie's done the family. Anybody in the family, we could talk about them.
Yeah. I was just looking to see if there was a logo to point to because I know he's.
Oh, I got you. So, yeah, he's on the Tuesday. Yeah.
So yeah, Candy Clown possibilities this coming weekend. Long shot, head to head, and double head to double head, I should say. Possibly hitting leopard and even super leopard in there on that one, which is cool because I've already got, as I just posted yesterday, a spot nose candy het clown growing.
That's the one. That's the one that I saw. I was like, "Oh, that's pretty nice right there." Have you hit any candy clowns before?
I've not hit candy. This project has mocked me for about 3 years running. I mean, I've had clutches where it's been not one candy or clown come out. Like it's been pretty rough. So,
okay.
So
so you're looking for leopard in there? I think you said. And do you have Enchi in the mix? Was it as well or not?
Not on this one. So this is leopard double head to leopard double head. I mean, at this point, I'm just desperate. I'm just trying to throw anything.
Get the one visual, right?
I just need one. And I've got some decent females. I've got spot nose double head female, leopard double head female, I've got, like I said, a spot nose candy het clown girl. I've got the girl's ready. I just need to get that male out. So, and what it'll be is when I hit the candy clown, I'll probably hit the female too.
It'll be a female another 3 years, right?
Project.
How far has that project gone, like outside of you? I haven't seen a whole lot of candy clowns. What's going on out there in it?
I've seen a couple. I haven't seen much in the way of combos. I know I saw at least one out there this year, not just posted on Instagram, but I saw at least one for sale even. So,
oh, wow.
It is a very small part of kind of a side project, kind of just personal interest for me at this point too, after 3 years vendetta, that I have to get this. But yeah, it's, I don't think there's a lot of like, higher tiered combos of it yet either. But,
right. I think there's probably a lot to do in a wide open lane on that. I picked up, speaking of Charlie at Gray Rider, I picked up a couple candy female breeders from him this year as well. So I've got a few things kicking in that project, and I do have a candy pied male as well. So I kind of got my you were one of the first guys that kind of got my brain turning on candy. I was like, oh, I kind of like this. And as I see more and more adults, it turns out my original female is a Candino, not a candy. But so now if I'm going to buy candies from anybody, I'll buy them from the guy that's doing the genetic testing. So I feel much more confident on those two, so I'll work on getting the candies isolated from the first female. I'll make her available eventually, but I'll start building that project some.
He's got some cool stuff going on it too. He's got, I think, some, whether they're clown pied or it's some version of the triple candy clown pie that he's got where it's at least one visual and the two hets. It might even be a double visual with a het that he's got going, and he's got acid worked into it now too. So he's in the project as well.
Cool. Pretty nice.
Coming. Yeah. But that's, like I said, just a small piece. So the biggest thing that I got is the DG Krypton stuff, and I do have a shot at DG Cryptics coming here within about a month's time too. That should be pretty cool, and that's where most of my traction has been. Most of the higher combos that I've made have been kind of in that wheelhouse, DG Krypton type stuff. So.
Yeah. What was that a Batman Krypton you had posted, or a spot nose at least? It was a great post where you said, "Oh, still not believing in Krypton yet." I was like, I reposted. I didn't even change the. Usually I change something on the post, but I was like, no, I'll leave that one the way it is.
Probably done at least 3 different versions of Batman Krypton at this point with other genes as well. Like there's a red stripe and yellow belly on top of one that turned out really cool. It rivals a clown. Any clown that you could put out in that project, I think. And then a couple with like black pastel and some other stuff like that mixed in too. So some more red stripe and yellow belly all in that wheelhouse.
Do you
that
think
one you talk about probably was go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. What was that one?
The one you're talking about, I think, was probably the one that had, I think, black pastel, spot nose, and leopard.
Oh yeah, that would do it. Yeah. Do you think what's your feeling on puzzle versus Krypton? And I don't know that those two are necessarily versus each other, but I think we're finding that they're both related to clown. I think we're finding that they both have some of those puzzle-ish patterns on their body. Obviously, puzzle's really hot right now. Krypton's maybe having a little bit of a resurgence or a renaissance on that. What's your personal feeling on those two projects?
Puzzle's super hot right now. I'd love to. I just actually moved some of my puzzle stuff out, and it's and that's no condemnation of my views on that project. I actually think it's awesome. It was just consolidating for me. I've gotten so much more traction now towards the cryptic Krypton stuff, and with other recessives sitting behind it. But puzzle I think is really awesome. I think puzzle is one that's going to give us a chance to see some combos not in clown, with a lot of focus that we haven't seen in a little while. It's not that it's never been done, right? But everybody's been pretty heavy. Everything's got to be on a clown platform right now, right? So puzzles, they did find it's not exactly related to clown, right? I think, and I don't want to take too much from the way the pros explained it, but as far as the genetics guys, but they just act in a similar pathway or present in a similar way to where there's overlap, the way they present, but not necessarily a genetic location. Maybe they were close, might have been said, but you can make puzzle clowns now. But it's because they're going through kind of the same mechanism to show pattern. It looks like the first few have been harder to distinguish, I think. But I still believe, even though I sold the puzzle clown stuff, that someone's going to hit a combo probably sooner rather than later with the right. It's going to be something maybe you don't even expect. And she spot knows at the same time, maybe something like that that's going to set that thing off, and then people are going to get really excited about it. But like I said, I don't even know that puzzle really needs clown. You're seeing crazy DG and hypo puzzles and stuff. I think everything needs a second recessive today.
Seems like it, right? Yeah.
Personal opinion. But you're seeing plenty of other double recessives come out of that project that are just fantastic looking. And it's revamping some genes that have been backburnered too. You're seeing lesser, pastel, bamboo combos that come out in puzzle that look awesome. So that are getting people excited about some of those again. So that's cool to see. I think that's good for the industry. There's some similarities in the base, like a krypton or even maybe a cryptic, more the krypton next to a puzzle than the cryptic. But when you start to add certain things, they from what I'm seeing, diverge pretty quickly.
Yeah. Okay.
Get enough genes into a krypton, you start to look more like a clown again, is what I'm seeing. And puzzle, as we know, is tending not to conform and look like a clown almost no matter what you do, unless you literally put clown.
And that's true. Yeah, you just put then it's all clown. Yeah. That's an interesting point about reviving maybe some genes that have been tired or on a back burner for a little bit. I had a hypo puzzle, couple females, hypo het puzzles growing up, and it was time to buy the male. And I went looking, and actually I found a breeder puzzle visual het hypo, and I was like, well, okay, that's the animal that I need, and he's ready. So let me go make a deal. I ended up buying 5 snakes from that breeder and that person. But it's the old, how much if I buy one? How does the price get sweeter if I buy 2? And then suddenly I buy 5 animals,
I know how that goes.
Yeah, exactly. So you're like, yeah, okay. But I remember in the midst of that going, wait a minute, let me make sure that it, like at my core, it's still got to pass the cool test. Like, are these just visually cool animals? I don't want to be chasing a market. I don't want to be chasing a gene because something's hot. Because Lord knows in 3 years when I'm doing anything worthwhile with it, if I don't think it's cool, who knows what the market's going to be doing with it. So I just went to Morph Market and I just hit puzzle and I hit any that have ever been available. And then I sorted by most genes and then by the least genes and just look. And I was just like, there's a lot of cool stuff. I was like, all right, this is wide open for cool stuff. But like you say, not everything needs clown. But, and to your point about a double recessive, I already have hypo in the mix and the visuals. So I was like, I'm going to do this. The price was right. The opportunity was right. The ages are nice. I've got some breeders in there and I've got some hatchlings and some grow outs across the 5. So it'll, it's not like I have to just sit there for another 3 years. I can get to it, so I'm pretty excited about seeing that next year. And that male, I mean, a visual puzzle head hypo, that's a strong enough male that he might just go to my hypo females next year across the board and get those combo, the visual hypo combos with the het puzzle in them.
I think there's still time for one. When you do that, you can put females in your rack that you'll like. And then there's still time that even on the males, you're going to have some value maybe for another year or so, before that really drops off, even just in hypo puzzle males that you're going to make. You'll probably be able to move decent to people getting in the project, especially because it's hot and the dollar value in some cases on some of the males that somebody would go look for might be out of some people's range. So the chance for them to grab that hypo het they'll probably still move, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The thing I love about both that krypton, to your point of like just cool factor and visual cool factor, they tend to, what I like about them personally, they tend to brighten things up. I see that in both puzzles and in kryptons. You see like black pastel next to it, And then you see the Black Pastel Krypton has all these whites all of a sudden up the sides, and the borders around alien heads get real nice and bright. If there's yellow belly added, all of a sudden it starts to have a glow to it. And you see that with the puzzle stuff too. And that's what's exciting for me is it's stuff, and they tend to be aging fairly well too. And I'm a big believer in clown, but we all know that clowns can brown things after a while. And I'm not seeing that as much with puzzle or Krypton stuff.
Yeah, I like I always try and break things down to pattern, contrast, and color. And I think puzzle is going to do a nice job with pattern and contrast. So we got to find the things that work in color. And then if you can accentuate the contrast with a DG or a hypo on top of it, or even, we were just talking about candies. I mean, doing something in a candy or one of the albino lanes with lavender or something too would be, I think there's opportunity there. And it's like you say, it's early enough. I think there's still a little time before the aggressive dive, to the bottom starts happening with puzzle. I hope.
Well, what's crazy is we're saying that about a gene that's been around. I don't know how long. Puzzles, I think, over 10 years, but it wasn't for a while now. It hasn't been tapped into like it is, and it was when it was, I think, first around. It wasn't during the real push that we have today. That like everything's got to be like a minimum double recessive project, like. So yeah, even though it's been around for years, a lot of those hets don't exist in the other projects and not in abundance yet. There are a ton of people right now working on them, but there's time, I think, still. So.
I think so. It's kind of an interesting case study too, and I don't know the history of it nearly as well as you will. Do you think the puzzle was kind of like guarded or protected, or there was like a sort of a circle and a price protection on it? I'm not saying fixing or collusion, but I feel like it's just in the past maybe 2 years started to like get out. It's pretty limited number of people working with it, huh?
It's an awesome question, and I honestly, I don't know the history on it that well either. It's interesting to kind of pose as another theory, but again, it's purely disclaimer speculative. I don't know. Is it that, or is it that they didn't have anything that they thought was that exciting in it at first?
That's true. Yeah, maybe it just wasn't exciting. Yeah.
I don't know. Either one would be a guess for me, but I'd be curious. Some of the people that were around and saw it, I think like Chris Eaton was doing things back when puzzle was first coming around and stuff like that. I think some of them would know the history on it, so I'll probably reach out to somebody.
Yeah, maybe if I get Will Morose was on the show one time, and he's great. He's super transparent, but maybe I'll pose that to him on the next go around. I know he's been active with puzzle for a decade, So, all right, Charlie, what do you make of this? I think we can leapfrog to. We all know that there's value that happens outside of the spreadsheet. That's building brands. That's let's be not totally, but a little transparent. We have a transaction where I put your logo on the top, and it's hard to quantify. Does that build? Does that not? Is that worthwhile or not? And so we know that there's value outside of just formulaic math. How do we know when to stop that? Like, where does it end? Where we go, well, this is too much. You can't just throw money after goodwill forever, can you? Or maybe, I don't know, maybe there's not an end to it.
That's really, I often tell people that's a great question is kind of like code for, I don't really know the answer.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Right. So that's actually a great question, but not necessarily because you stumped me, but because it was stumped just recently on this. And this is something that's on my mind a lot right now, which is cool though, because we can kind of talk it out loud. There's a couple of awesome shows coming around that are a little outside my 1-2 hour drive window. And I don't vend shows anyway. So when I go to shows, it's because I'm shopping, which means it's probably a national show for it to be the stuff that I'm looking for based on the projects that I'm in. Or it's because I just want to connect with some people, do the networking piece.
Right.
So I'm right now planning to go to CRBE up in the Mississauga, Toronto area in Canada, which is probably a flight for me. I could drive it, but I won't do well in a car after the first couple of hours anymore. I used to drive up and down the coast all the time. An hour in anymore, I'm like, we got to stop. I got to get out. So whether it's by driving or flight, and then hotel stays when I'm buying nothing while I'm up there, at least not the plan. When I might buy something and go off budget in that regard too, and spend even more than not expected, how much am I going to spend for the networking piece? There's some people I really want to just see and catch up with, and that's a big part of it too. So on the personal side, but then let's face it, this is a business. So a lot of that's purely just basically some type of a marketing spend at this point, right? To get up there and hang out with some people and make sure I'm keeping contact with them, you know, and you know, keeping your name to a degree relevant. It's not all about that for me. Like I said, there's some people there that I genuinely just want to catch up with.
Right.
But that's certainly a piece of it, and that's certainly how it's going to look on the accounting at the end of the year when I sit down with my accountant. So
I mean,
just
round number. I mean, just round number. You're probably in for $1,000 on the trip, right? I mean, you got a round trip flight, a couple nights of hotel, you got to eat, and you know, maybe take somebody out or you know, business dinner or whatever.
Exactly what I'm guesstimating is that kind of best case, I probably get out for $1,000 between at least 2 nights of hotel and a round trip flight, and then, like you said, some meals, and that's if I don't go Saturday night out with a bunch of people and spend on meals and drinks and stuff. So yeah, it's certainly in that. And then the next weekend, right after that, we turn around and run down to the North Carolina, the Plant and Reptile Expo. That I think.
Oh, you are going to go down to that?
We'll put together. Yeah, that one's a definite. We've got hotel booked. Family's doing the road trip down there. We're all going. That one I got the benefit of. It's also plants, so it was an easy sell with with the boss. So.
Yeah.
So because she's into the plant thing, so that's cool. That actually did me a huge favor, them adding plants to some of these reptile expos. But yeah, so that one's definite too. But so then that's the other thing of it. I'm going to see a lot of the same people down at that one. So again, where is that line on the value of just doing the networking piece? And there is a huge value. Like you said, we have the sponsorship here, and quantifying that's been tough. But the fact of the matter is, and I'm not saying that as a bad thing at all, but like actually saying no one's come forward and said, hey, I saw your logo on Cup of Joe. That's why I'm hitting you up. But there's been, whether it's coincidentally because of market or what, there's been an uptick since then. And that's not saying it because I'm just on with you. I don't know if I've actually said that directly to you yet or not. I think I might have mentioned it last month, but there's been an uptick. So I think there's definitely a value there. And I used to kind of sit and question when I saw everybody's logos showing up on the podcast a couple of years ago, like how much is that doing for them? Some people's logos on every podcast. And I was like, how much? But I'll say in the time since we did this, 2 of my best months I've ever had came up. And again, is it animals? Is it all the things that I'm working coming together, right? So is it the intangibles, off-street stuff? And I'd say that's probably what it is. To your point, your initial question, which I, like a politician, went completely around. I don't know where the line is, but it is an important piece.
I think so too. I used to, and it's almost, some of it's, well, I have a lot of thoughts. You threw a lot out right there. One being, I almost feel like if we invest, say, in a promotional piece, it almost holds you accountable to make sure that you're doing all the things, because you might look at yourself in the mirror and go, why the hell am I throwing this money out there if I'm not going to do the other 6 pieces to sort of complete the circle of business? So it's almost a way to hold yourself accountable, and then big surprise, you get results, you know?
That's an excellent point too, because, you know, as I think about it, the other day I was thinking I probably have to pay up on the next payout for the sponsorship. I was looking at pairing saying, man, I better get some more stuff going so that if this continues at this trend, I've got stuff ready. So
yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So it juiced me up, and I went and made a huge, especially with the last 2 months, like I said, being 2 of my best months, I went out and dropped quite a bit last month on reinvesting in some stuff to push my projects and my overall collection along, like genetically. So I think that's an excellent point you make. It's kind of holding me. I'm like, it's out there now. It's got a lot of traction. Now I gotta be ready with animals.
I gotta have something to deliver. Yeah.
Why is my logo going to be up here if I run out of clutches?
It was kind of neat. I don't think I'm sharing too much. Robbie at Argen Reptiles, when we first started working together, he was like, Adam, I actually don't have any animals to sell right now. So what angle are we working towards? And I was like, well, I need you to help me on that, because I can just say your brand over and over, but at some point you got to engage. And he actually came up with an email list and some value that he could bring to people. Hey, you sign up on my email list, you're going to get first dibs on these clutches that are coming. And that became the message. But like you're saying, it was almost like, well, he wants to get out there, but if you don't commit to doing something, like you have to do more than just have a logo there. Like there's got to be some engagement, or like you say, something to deliver when the eyes do go to you. Like, I can't sell I guess I could sell the animal for you, but that's not our arrangement. Like, I'm just trying to get eyes on your product, and then you gotta grab them when they're there. Yeah. So those shows that you go to, it's interesting you bring up the All American Reptile Plant Expo series. I went to their Denver show, and that was the first show I'd been to in about a year and a half that I wasn't vending. So that I just went. I did a little bit of work with Redline. Let me be transparent on that. Robin was a sponsor on that trip, but I had a lot of time just to go see what the market was like, see what other people were doing. Really, kind of actually even support a lot of people. I did a lot of filming and sharing of what other people had going on. But as I was going around, I was like, I need to budget for at least one, if not two, of these national scale shows every year that I'm not vending at, just for what you're talking about. It was actually fantastic. And it's where, precise case in point, it's where the relationship with Husbandry.pro started. And look how already there's a website that they're driving for me, So it was, I really find value in doing those things, but I couldn't have predicted I was going to run into Robert or have a fruitful conversation. Or, I actually did some filming with Brian Cusco that day and built that relationship. So he ended up on the show. So you never know. And I used to not be, if you look at some of my early episodes, I was wondering if it was even worthwhile to go to shows or to vend shows just because of the overhead and getting caught up in the spreadsheet versus the value of being out there in the world, Did catching up on trying to catch up on the on the chats. Yeah, if only Charlie at Gray Rider was getting his logo out there a little bit. If only people knew of what was going on with it. Yeah,
really when I think of people who need to really step up what they're doing, that's one of the ones that comes to my mind. I just constantly want to just do better.
If he would, just get off your ass and do something in life, Charlie. I wish he would just, apply himself to something,
Yeah, it's interesting the point you brought up from Kreative about making the list too. I think that was a really smart idea, and some of our friends, I think I've heard Stephen at Leviathan talk about things like that too, because it's what does you call it? It's forget the term he assigns to it, but when somebody's reaching out to you now for a sale like that, they've given you permission now to sell them, right? So you're not hard selling somebody or anything like that. They've given you permission to sit there and say, here's what I have. Do you need it? Here's what I have. Do you need it? Which is, a break is a big thing for me. I'm an operations guy, mostly been back of the house, not as much customer facing. A little bit when I was in the brewing industry, did some sales and stuff. But so that's not, I'm going to say natural, but it's not something that I've really been practiced at for a long time. So that cracking that code for me on starting up that conversation and drawing lines for me too. I don't like to be pushy car salesman and stuff like that. So, when is it okay for me to be like, oh, that's a project you're in? I have some stuff in that project, versus just staying around them and letting them see it and letting them mention, hey, I saw you. And that's worked for me so far in a bunch of stuff. Especially the more high end stuff that I've been able to move, versus the lower end stuff that I sometimes just get those random inquiries on Morph Market, has been somebody saying, hey, do you have anything in this? I see that you've been working this project for a while, or we've talked about this project a ton of times. Now I'm finally ready to get an animal that I need from you in it. So it's
I think that's where it's a long-term relationship build. And I think I really like the expression that more than one thing can be true at once, but I think it's starting to get played out. So I get annoyed when I say it sometimes, but I think you can have a relationship and be working towards a transaction, and both can be genuine. And usually we get this image of like, oh, you're using their friendship just to make money. No, we both know we're in business. We both know where it's going. Um, but and actually, Justin at Pressure Pythons, Justin, I got your text last night, by the way. I'm not making it to Daytona, but when Justin was starting out, we talked a lot, and full transparency, he was a really great customer and helped me out a lot. But I hope that I helped him when we would talk through, hey, what are you looking for? What gets you going? What excites you in this? And some things I would have, and other things I would say, I don't have it. You're going to have to look in other places on that. So we could be an honest resource, be friends, and there be a transaction. And that's kind of how I feel about Patreon as well. I want to set a stage where there's a community, they benefit from each other, and I can foster that community. And sometimes they can benefit directly from me, and sometimes I'm going to get a sale, but they do business with each other. It's great to see, like, it's almost like a business incubator. They're like, oh, well, I have rats. Oh, I'm 2 hours from you, but I'll be at the such and such show. Can I pick them up? Boom. And they're using people float out just this week, somebody floated out a new logo, and they got input from like 10 people in real time. Hey, this looks good. Maybe that. Yeah, it's just a nice, cool thing to be able to, like, say, foster the community and then just keep an eye on it. And, fortunately, it's good people in there. I don't have to moderate much, especially when I'm out in North Carolina working. I even sent an apology. I was like, guys, I'm sorry, I'm going to be quiet this week, but it's not because I forget you. I got other stuff. So all that stuff is things that I had to come to or grow to get to the point where I bought into it. Because, like you say, my background, as much as kitchens are customer facing, in my first 10 years, I never interacted with customers. That was a decade of make the product as it's ordered, make your profits, don't waste things, do it efficiently, get it done. So the marketing, the relationships, the face-to-face was all lost on me. That was, like I said, I was a decade into my career before I messed with any of that.
Important thing in a lot of operations for people to keep questioning is both ways. What am I doing that means nothing to the customer? We talk about that as far as non-value added activities, but then also, am I meeting their needs? Is there something else I should be doing that helps, right? So to a point, having that, so working with friends can be really bad or really awesome. What's awesome is if there's somebody that you know and you like and you have a good relationship, why wouldn't that be the person? If you're going to spend money with somebody, why wouldn't you want to give it to your friends, household and business and stuff like that, and keep it within? Some people get that right, and they talk about keep it within your circle and your network, keep the money in there.
That's right.
An awesome concept, so long as everybody's working on the up and up. But it allows you the opportunity, right, to, like you said, kind of talk through, hey, this is the best thing I have in that project. It might not be the best fit for you. If it truly is a friendship too, and you're doing business like that, you can be a little more open and honest. You should be like that with any of your customers, to say, I don't know if that's the best fit for your projects, but let's face it, you're not going to necessarily take the same level of time with just the random morph market inquiry as someone who you text back and forth with about projects all the time. I have an animal in it, but I don't know. You've got het pied floating around in there, and the spot nose might not go well with that. You might want to wait for something I have that's not, or see if somebody else has it. So you can have those transparent conversations. So.
And I think about it. Actually, I was just thinking the other night, probably in a show prep mode or something. I don't know why I was thinking about it. The flip side is true too. We all are working. The fact is, there's always somebody ahead of us, and there's somebody that we can help and mentor sort of behind us, or that's coming up. I don't like behind because it sounds like they're lesser. I don't mean it that way. But, and I won't say who, because who knows if people want to be identified or not, but there's somebody in Minneapolis that's been a phenomenal help to me. They're absolutely an industry leader. And the fact is, when the day comes, or when that time comes that I have a big need or a big investment need, and I have the money allotted for it, would I go to a stranger that just offers a little bit of a price dip and give them that money? Or would I feel better about going to the person that's looked out for me and helped me, and I want to support them and know that I'm getting an amazing animal, that they're going to be around forever, they're not disappearing? Of course I want to go to that guy. So, like, I could be on both sides of that discussion. And appreciate and enjoy in those situations, both
So
sides of the situation.
I constantly preach balance, and it's like you said, it's important to have a balance of that. You want to have some people that you're communicating with regularly that are ahead of you, that's pushing you, right, to continue to strive to do more, and they're teaching you things. But you also, and this is something that you put me, like I said, you put me in a difficult topic where I'm finding my way on, but working with people that the tier below you can be it can be mutually beneficial, like you said, where I can teach them and guide them, and it may provide, and it can't be all about that, but it may provide opportunities. Again, if I'm ahead of them in a project, or I'm ahead of them in general in this industry, it may provide opportunity to sell them things that they need as they're catching up or coming up behind me in the project too. And then it just on the other side of it, building that goodwill, which is a measurable thing, by the way, to a degree. Companies do assign a value on it. You probably already know this, but if you go look up a Nike or a company like that, you'll probably find goodwill on the balance sheet. So you're building that goodwill and stuff like that. And what's interesting too is they look at it and measure it for this reason too. If you make a mistake, because we're not perfect, and you tell somebody something that you messed up an ID, you try to be as best you can. But if you do, or if you just accidentally a mail, or two snakes go to the wrong place, as much as I got a checklist so I don't, but if that happens, that person, if you have credibility in a relationship with them, and the industry is probably a lot more forgiving of it. We see that to a fault at times too, where really big people with a name tend to get away with things, and some people will accuse them of that sometimes. But
that's true.
For good reason sometimes too. When you've done honest, good business for so long, there should be a little forgiveness if you have a misstep. Like, you know what I mean? As long as it's not too egregious, and as long as you're apologetic and you learn to move forward from it. But
yeah, and you take the steps to make it right, or oversteps. I'll be Keith at Kreative Genetics. As a matter of fact, he bought a it's embarrassing to say out loud. He bought a female VPI Xanthic from me a year and a half ago, and he calls me up about 4 months ago, and he texts me a picture of a great big hemipene sticking out of that snake. He goes, "That's a male," and I said, "No wonder I could never get that thing." Always like freaked out when I would breed it. It was just crazy forever, and I would swear on my life that I've seen that thing lock. And I've heard people say that a dominant male will lock. I was like, I know that was a female. But anyway, I had to make it right immediately, no questions. And then overboard. It's interesting you said that about the goodwill balance sheet though too. I haven't worked for Ruby Tuesday in almost 20 years, but my first 10 years were with Ruby's in the mid 90s, when they were kind of at the top of that casual dining world. But our daily budget, and we checked it constantly, was 0.5% was of all revenue was to go back to the customer. So if we screwed stuff up, but even if we had a perfect day, go find 0.5% to give back. So so for reference, I mean, and Charlie, you're a math guy, so keep me honest on this. But even on a $10,000 day, that was $50 in drinks that I could go buy for regulars or dinner or upgrade. And $10,000 day is a solid day, but $10,000 day 20 years ago, I mean, on Ruby's happy hour, $2.50, $2.50 beers, you could really brighten the room with a, hey, $50 around right now, guys, let's go. So I remember and that was every day. 0.5% I had to go back.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too. It's the same thing if you go to a restaurant multiple times and then one night it's bad. You're telling the server, like, listen, this never happens. We come here all the time. I don't know what happened tonight. And you almost feel bad telling them versus walking for the first time and it's a mess, and you weren't sure how it was going to go, and then you're like, this is crazy. That first is a different story. But
and that culture came to really reinforce, like, we learned it's way more fun to give somebody a surprise $50 than to have to go kiss their to bail yourself out with the $50. So it actually reaffirmed us to do a great job, so we could look forward, by 8:00 that evening, that you're probably not, you're probably home free. So here's what you've banked today. Here's what you can go give back. And now something we look forward to, like, hey, keep it tight so we could do this, we can go really make some days at the end, or give away big desserts to a, kid's birthday or whatever the hell, and it was every day we got to do that. And it was a very cool culture from a goodwill standpoint. And it's actually a great example of something that typically doesn't fit on a spreadsheet, but that they codified to 0.5%.
Interesting. I wonder how they came to
So,
that value when we talk about spreadsheets, like where they came to that. But
yeah, there was some actuarial stuff that, in a company that big, we never, you never really got to see behind the curtain. There was a ghost in the machine that sent you your directions. So there was a lot of things that were actually 0.5%. My bonus was based on if I missed labor by more than 0.5%, good or bad. Because if I saved too much labor, it meant that I was understaffing, and I might get away with it, but I wasn't going to be able to execute. I was going to burn out my team. Same with food cost. And in Ruby's days, my total income potential, 40% of that was bonus. So I got to know numbers real fast, man. I got to learn what 0.5% meant really fast,
Yeah. There probably, like you said, actuarial, there probably is a way to measure. You can, so it's interesting. We talk about it not being on the spreadsheet, but I did actually coincidentally a 4-hour class yesterday morning on how we can measure human behavior, and which means you can manage it.
Nice.
So,
there you go.
And one example I'll give is they talk about this a lot. You'll see things around the internet about it. If you go look it up, you'll find it. It might be insert name brand big box store, like a Target, right? Where they talk about how they'll measure the pathways through the store based on their camera network, right? And then they can sell certain areas at a higher amount, end caps and things like that have more traffic by them, or they can put products there that they need to move. You can measure human behavior. So you might not be able to, sometimes you have this problem with correlation. Is it just correlated versus is it actually causally related?
Right.
But you can measure. I put my logo on the show and there's been a bump, right? There may be some other factors, but the fact is if I were to stop, or if I was to do a second show and I see a similar bump, now I've got 2 points and I can start to draw that line. Now you got
2 data points, yeah.
So you can kind of figure that out. And even just in things like the number of inquiries, even if they don't translate to sales, have gone up. And if I know a percent that equates to sales, I can start to derive a number that this many inquiries typically means a sale. I can start to come up with a number still. Inquiries have gone up since my logo's been on the show. So you can still oftentimes, if you're creative enough, come to some idea of the value. So it's not even completely, I guess my argument would be, it's not even completely all off spreadsheet. I don't know that when we talk about non-value add activities, it does a lot for us at the size business we're in, for everybody to sit there and try to spend time doing the exercise to calculate it. So probably the takeaway is just know that way bigger companies that have been around 100 years have figured out and placed value on these things. So trust that you have to do some extent of it. The best I could tell people is it'll feel like too much probably when it's too much. When you're just trying to run to every show just to shake hands, right? And it's getting almost like tiring, and you're taking away from things like animal care and stuff, you're probably well over the overdoing it. And you may feel at some point before that even, right? So
yeah. 2 thoughts in there. One, that's interesting. You talk about, I think you use Target, but any of these stores, the strategy of mapping where people are at, I'm sure the exercise goes, hey, let's try this. And then you look and see what works, and you look and see where people go, and then you adapt to that and you move to that. What's neat when you said that is I'm learning that on my website. Google Analytics will tell me what page people spend the most time on and where they land. So I have a page of for sale, but I'm finding they're not landing there, and some of them don't even get there. So do I need to move a featured animal do I need to move a featured pop to where they're landing. It's like this virtual map, like you say, putting an end cap of, whatever your highest profit margin item is front and center. Do I need to put a virtual end cap of the brightest snake I can think of? And then the question is, who's going there? I will say, now I was vending, but getting out to that show, I got to ask people, hey, do you know about properroyals.com? And a couple of the regulars go, yeah, I check in almost every day. I was like, what? That's crazy. I don't have stuff every day, just so you know. But it was neat that it is reaching. So it'll be a long play and a long build, but that's a neat and interesting thing that you said there. As far as like, you'll know when you get there where it's too much. I've almost burnt myself out doing like 26 shows this year is what I signed up for. But I've done enough of the same shows, several of them 3 or 4 times now, where I'm starting to get data points where I can quantify. I don't know what it is or why it is, but these bottom 3, they're going to have to go away. I could choose to replace them. I could choose to give myself that time back. I could choose to refocus that time on, hey, if I spent $150 on those tables and I'm not spending it on those tables anymore, should I buy ads for $150? I could start to choose to do, what makes sense on it. So that stuff does fit on a spreadsheet, but it's also looking at like, this feels like I'm banging my head against the wall. Let's check the numbers. Oh, yeah, you are. You're not doing anything from it. Charlie, I know we're both on a hard 3-minute wrap up here. Guys, check out Kreative Genetics. That's Keith out there in Fresno, California. He and I are working on Axanthic clown combos together. I've got Axanthic het clowns available. We're going to have clown het Axanthic combos. There'll be various genes in there, and we do have a shot at some double visuals this year. Keith has his own breeding projects as well. Check him out. Reagan Renee, you got to check out Reagan Renee Royal Pythons. That is Charlie right there. Thank you for all the support. Thanks for being here today, filling in. You guys know about Cold Blooded Cafe. Use that proper 11 code. I am working with them. That code is a one-time code right now. You do have to sign in using your email. A lot of times I'll get a message, somebody saying your code doesn't work. And I'm like, did you use an email? Oh, there's the money. Use your code, use your email, get your code, 11% off. But I am working with Chris at Cold Blooded Cafe, and we're working on a legacy discount. We don't want you to just come once for the discount. We want you to be a long-term customer. And as always, thanks to the crew at Husbandry.pro. I do use their product, and Husbandry.pro powers properroyals.com. You can use PRoyal60 for your 60-day free trial. If you forget that code, just go to properroyals.com, and there's a convenient little button that'll take you right there, and they'll know that you're using my code or coming from me or whatever. But 60 days free trial for you. Charlie, you'll be at CRBE. You'll be in Charlotte. Where else can people find you virtually if not in person? Yep.
Predominantly Instagram at Reagan Renee Royal Pythons. If you just start typing in Reagan_Renee, it should, if you've got enough snake people follow it, it'll probably pop up. That's the easiest way. And whether it's just a follow or if you want to DM and say hi, like I said earlier, I am looking for a way to try to help some other people that got a couple of years now. I'm not the expert, not an industry leader, but I might have a little more experience than some. So if you want to bounce some ideas or need some help, please let me know. I'm looking for ways to get more involved in the community, as Phil put it earlier with the quotes. So, well, you helped me today on my community audience. You guys helped me. Thanks for being here. It's still surreal to me that we get to do a morning show talking about stuff that I love with a community that I really love. And I'm still doing it. I got to head to the office. I got to get out of here. It's a weird office day for me. So Charlie and I are going to run, but audience, thanks so much. I will see you guys next week. We'll do the same thing, same time. And Charlie, I'll be in touch. Thank you so much. Oh, I know that talking about kids could get a little bit weird, but your daughter was so great to give some jokes last time that you guest hosted. I hope she's doing well. Tell her I said hi, and I will work on some, dad jokes for the next time that we all get to hang out. See you guys soon. Cheers, everybody.